going on within the Republican Party, the candidates, because you are all savaging each other at this point, and frankly, it doesn't seem like the Republicans are even competing with President Obama, but that they are tearing each other apart limb by limb.
Well, actually, I think that sometimes that's a media game. What we're seeing is just clarifying between the differences of the candidates. A lot of people want to pretend that we're just exactly the same. We aren't. There are very bold, strong, distinct differences between us.
To attack USA. It's our policy of preemptive, deliberate invasions of foreign countries and occupying these countries. That preemptive, deliberate invasions of foreign countries and occupying these countries. That
make sure that they take apart our nominee limb by limb. So we need to remember that we need a candidate who has no surprises. We need a candidate who's a true conservative with a core of conviction, and I think I'm the best choice on that score.
Well, I think the media is somewhat complicit in this. I mean, they pit one of you against another.
When Speaker Gingrich was Speaker of the House, he had an opportunity to defund Planned Parenthood, and he chose not to take it. That's a big issue. And also, I think even more troubling, when he was in Washington, D.C., he made an affirmative statement that he would not only support, but he would campaign for Republicans who are in support of the barbaric procedure known as partial birth abortion. I could never do that.
Now, according to factcheck.org, in 1998, anti-abortion forces asked the Republican National Committee to cut off funding for GOP candidates who did not support a ban on partial birth abortion. But Mr. Gingrich opposed that cutoff.
Ronald Reagan also clarified the differences between himself and his opponents also in the primary election. We need to point out what those differences are because it's important that the American people, and especially the Republican voters, have a true choice in the primary. If you look at the 1980 election and the political climate this year, they are very similar because what we needed in the 1980 election was the most conservative candidate to take on a very liberal Jimmy Carter. I would say that Barack Obama is far more liberal than Jimmy Carter.
Gingrich asking them about whether or not they're the conservative in this race, but you have to take a look. When you look at Newt Gingrich, for 20 years, he's been advocating for the individual mandate in health care. That's longer than Barack Obama. Or if you look at Mitt Romney as the governor of Massachusetts, he's the only governor that put into place Obamacare. I didn't advocate for it. If you look at Newt Romney, they were for Obamacare principles. If you look at Newt Romney, they were for cap and trade. If you look at Newt Romney, they were for the illegal immigration problem. And if you look at Newt Romney, they were for the $700 billion bailout. You just heard Newt Romney is also with Obama on the issue of the payroll extension. So if you want a difference, Michele Bachmann is the proven conservative. It's not Newt Romney.
You threw a lot out there. So let's get both
and as recently as May of this year, he was still advocating for the individual mandate in health care, and Governor Romney sent his team to the White House to meet with President Obama to teach them how to spread the Romney Care model across the nation. That's why I say Newt Romney. You've got to have our nominee as someone who has a stark, distinct difference with President Obama, who can go toe-to-toe and hold him accountable. President Obama knows me in Washington, D.C. I've taken him on issue after issue. Our nominee has to be willing to not agree with Barack Obama on these issues, but stand 180 degrees opposite of all the candidates on this stage. I've been fighting President Obama for every year that I've been there, and I've taken him on, and I will take him on in the debate and defeat him.
Governor Romney.
Much worse. So I see the Iranians as acting logically and defensively.